Fire is one of the seafarer's greatest enemies. In the confines of a ship, a small fire can grow quickly and get out of control. The results can be devastating. This video follows an emergency drill to show how a well-trained crew, following planned and rehearsed procedures, can bring even a large fire under control and reduce the risk of harm to the ship, her crew, passengers, and cargo. Firefighters at sea need to act quickly. Once the alarm is sounded, every minute counts. The best way to achieve a fast and effective response in an emergency is through practice. So drills must be held regularly and made as realistic as possible.
Yes, sir. We found casualties.
Every drill should be different because every fire is different. In this video, we follow a fire party tackling a blaze. It should always be remembered that procedures for fighting fires in the engine room, cargo space, or accommodation areas may vary from ship to ship. Every vessel will have an emergency muster list that identifies the fire teams and their responsibilities. The teamwork shown in this video has been proven effective many times when tackling fires at sea. Keeping to these procedures, even under pressure, will help to make fire party operations effective and safe.
We have fire on deck. Fire on deck. Location Bay 06.
Although every fire is different, the response always starts off the same way, with the sounding of an alarm. In this training exercise, fire has been reported in a void space beneath the foredeck where a maintenance team has been at work. After mustering, the fire parties proceed to the fire locker. In a real incident, each entry team consists of a minimum of 2 crew. A backup team may also be put on standby. The first step is to make sure that the equipment in the fire locker is ready and safe to use. All members of the entry team must have received appropriate prior training. The teams get dressed as quickly as they can, but any problems with protective clothing or equipment must be raised immediately, even if it means losing precious time. Fire teams will normally be assisted by other members of the crew in double-checking that all clothing and equipment is correct and safe for use. The amount of air in the BA, or breathing apparatus cylinders, determines how long an entry team can remain on air at the incident. So it is important to check that all air cylinders are fully charged. Since 2002, an addition to the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, lays out a strict mandatory code for fire safety systems on board ships. The International Code for Fire Safety Systems, or FSS. The code includes technical requirements for breathing apparatus. All team members must be familiar with all its functions. Different sets must never be mixed. Each ship should be equipped with only one type of BA.
Bridge, this is Team 1, communication check.
Also mandatory is an effective communication system.
I read you loud and clear.
Okay, copy that.
The fire hose and its nozzle are also key items of equipment that firefighters must be familiar with. Nozzles can be set for a water jet or for spray. Short bursts are most effective and keep the quantity of water used to the minimum, which reduces the amount of steam produced and accumulation of water on board. Steam creates hot and humid conditions, which lead to increased breathing rates and a reduction in the time that a firefighter can spend at an incident. Some nozzles are capable of producing a water wall. This can be used to push back flames. For example, to enable a member of the firefighting team to turn off a source of fuel. However, water walls require a lot of water. They should only be used when necessary, because large amounts of wastewater on board can produce a free surface effect, which will adversely affect the ship's stability. When ready, the team will be called to the scene of the fire. Face masks must not be worn at this time. They should be put on just before entering the incident to avoid wasting air. Teams should stay together and walk quickly, but not run.
So, guys, we have fire alarm.
The first entry team and the BA controller meet with the on-scene commander at a point of safety nearest to the incident.
Located in the tunnel
The on-scene commander fully briefs the entry team,
over here.
giving them all the information available about the incident.
There can be a casualty.
They hear that there may well be a casualty in the area to be searched. If they find a casualty, their priority will be to bring them out. If not, the team will locate and fight the fire. The BA controller has already marked up the BA board with the names of the first team. BA boards may differ in size and layout, but their objective is the same: to safeguard the welfare of the firefighters by ensuring that the BA controller and the on-scene commander know who has been sent into the incident, where they are, what they are doing, how much air they have left, and what is their expected time out. For that reason, every entry to the incident must start and end at the BA board. For the safety of everyone involved, it is essential that only the BA controller makes changes to the board while an incident response is underway. Of course, the entry team will need to take a charged hose to the incident, but to save time and energy, this is made ready for them by other members of the fire party. Meanwhile, all the internal spaces that the firefighters are likely to enter may need to be electrically isolated. This may leave spaces with reduced lighting or in total darkness.
Firefighting on the base 06 here.
The second officer and the chief engineer's team meet to discuss the ventilation of the cargo holds and voids below the weather deck.
Was on the fire.
As a casualty is suspected in a void compartment, the ventilation in this section is left on extraction.
Okay.
Exhaust air must never be recirculated, as this will spread the smoke to other areas of the ship. If there were no casualties suspected, all ventilation would be turned off. The choice of search pattern will depend on the layout of the spaces in the area to be entered. The search can be direct or indirect, left or right hand. In the left-hand direct search method, number 1 keeps in physical contact with the bulkhead on the left-hand side, with the back of the hand, the elbow, or shoulder. Number 2 stays directly behind number 1, also keeping in contact with the bulkhead, and with the right hand on number 1's right shoulder. Number 3, if there is a third in the team, stays behind number 2. When visibility is restricted, the team move together as a group, one step at a time, using a shuffling motion, in which they search for obstacles or hazards on the deck with their leading foot, using their free hand to feel for obstructions or hot bulkheads. Meanwhile, helping out with the hose at all times, and staying in touch with each other by calling out. Keeping in contact with the bulkhead on one side means that to return to safety, they simply turn around, putting the right side of their body next to the bulkhead, and retrace their steps to the entry point. Using an indirect left-hand search pattern, Again, number 1 keeps in physical contact with the bulkhead. But number 2 is positioned on number 1's right side, with their left hand on number 1's right shoulder. They move forward together using the same shuffling action and can retrace their steps at any time by turning around as before.
Ian,
300.
The first entry team undertakes a final pressure gauge check, and the BA controller adds the readings to the BA board.
300. Okay.
In some circumstances, it may be appropriate for the entry team to use a lifeline. The team members crouch down on the hinge side of the entry door, where a final communications check is carried out.
Fire Party 1 to Commander.
RHU, loud and clear.
Number 1 then assesses the temperature of the door by spraying it with water. As there is no evidence of steam, it's decided the handle is cool enough to be opened with a gloved hand. The door is opened slowly, braced by number 1. This is to avoid the danger of violent reignition caused by fresh air rushing in. The door is held slightly open for a minimum of 10 seconds. Number 1 then informs number 2 that it appears safe to proceed. Number 2 tells number 3, and they make their entry. All members of the team must stay in contact with the on-scene commander and each other at all times. It is vital to any rescue effort that the team members themselves do not become casualties. The task of number 2 is to support number 1, who must always tell number 2 what is happening ahead and the next proposed move. Number 2 must pass this information on to any other members of the team. The team leader informs number 2 and the on-scene commander that they have found a casualty and are going to bring them out.
Fire Party 1 to Commander. We have found the casualty.
Commander to Fire Party 1, understood.
The on-scene commander acknowledges the report and ensures it is marked on the BA board.
Bring him out.
Copy that. We will bring him out.
Next, the team check their pressure gauges to ensure that they have enough air to cope with the exertions of getting the casualty out. An entry team always works to the lowest pressure reading of any of its members. The objective is to step out of the incident area into clean air before the BA sets warning alarm sounds, indicating a safety margin of 10 minutes of air in the cylinder. There are several methods of carrying casualties. Which one to use will depend on the danger of the casualty's situation, their injuries, and the space available. Here, a 2-person carry is used because space is restricted. For speed, the 2-person drag can be used. First aid should generally be avoided in the incident area. Roles should be swapped during drills to train crew in various duties, for instance, if a team member becomes unwell. Even though they are carrying a casualty, the entry team must also take their hose out with them. The hose should never be left at the incident. The next team may need it to cool ladders on the way in. The first entry team exits to the deck and hands the casualty over to others for first aid.
Ian,
They then go straight to the BA controller. They are checked off as being out of the incident area, and their remaining air pressures are written on the BA board. As soon as possible, the on-scene commander holds a debriefing. The team leader describes what happened, while the other members of the team listen in to add to anything number 1 may say.
Then we found the casualty.
The debriefing must be concise and must include mention of where they have been, what they saw, and what they did.
This area.
The second team turn their air on and put their masks on under the supervision of the BA controller. Their tank pressures are recorded on the BA board. Taking up the hose, they enter the incident. As the space has been secured by the first team, door opening procedures are not required. Having rescued the casualty, ventilation should now be stopped. After a brief look around the first space, to check that nothing has changed, the second entry team informs the on-scene commander before starting its descent to the lower level.
Fire Party 2 to Commander.
Go ahead, Fire Party 2.
First compartment is all clear.
First compartment is clear. Well understood.
They then check their air reserves. The ladder and handrail are checked for temperature by number 1, who sprays water on them. No steam is seen, so they do not need cooling. The hose is lowered first. The team then proceed down the ladder, one at a time, led by number 1. Number 1 signals to number 2 that the bottom of the ladder has been reached by kicking it, or the bulkhead, 3 times. Then number 2 starts the descent. Once they are both at the lower level, they check their pressure gauges again. Number 1 decides to search the next area using an indirect method, as visibility is still poor.
We will search the second compartment with a left-hand indirect search.
Entering second compartment with the left hand indirect search.
The on-scene commander agrees. An indirect search will be faster, saving more of the team's precious air reserves for the actual firefighting. This information is also put on the BA board. Once the area has been searched, number 1 decides to enter the next space where the fire is believed to be situated.
We are now moving to the next compartment, where we think is the seat of the fire. Over.
Moving to the next compartment.
The on-scene commander tells them to go ahead and has the information put on the BA board, so that those outside always know where the entry teams are. The latest air check figures are also added. Once the team is certain about their air supply, they proceed. Entry to the next compartment is by a watertight door. The team approaches the door from the hinge side. Number 1 sprays some water on the handle. When no steam is visible, this means that the handle can be touched with gloves on. Crouching down with number 2 behind, number 1 opens the door a few centimeters and holds it open for 10 seconds. As there is no inrush of air, it is judged safe to proceed. They then enter the compartment, taking the hose with them. Number 1 reports that the seat of the fire looks carbonaceous, involving solids, in this case wood, and proposes water should be used to put it out.
Commander.
The on-scene commander agrees.
Understood.
The fire is extinguished by aiming the jet from the nozzle at the base of the fire.
The fire is now out. Returning.
Once they decide that the fire is out, they tell the on-scene commander and check their remaining air reserves. If the on-scene commander decides a fire watch is required to ensure that reignition does not take place, another team will be sent in.
Well done. Thank you.
Once outside the incident, they go directly to the BA controller to have their air reserves recorded. The team take off their masks and turn off the air while the BA board is brought up to date. Then follows a debrief with the on-scene commander.
We went here.
Number 1 reports where they have been, what they have seen, and what they have done.
Take him out.
No firefighting drill is complete until the debriefing is finished.
We don't fight this fire in this area.
Frequent drills are essential to prepare firefighters for the rare times when they will have to deal with a fire on board. All equipment must be properly maintained, and entry teams must be trained in its use. Different sets of breathing apparatus should never be mixed. Any problems with clothing or equipment should be raised and resolved immediately, even if it means losing some precious time. BA boards ensure that the on-scene commander knows who has been committed to the incident, where they are, what they are doing, and what is their expected timeout. The choice of search procedures will depend on the layout of spaces in the area to be entered. The main patterns used are left hand, right hand, direct, and indirect. Doors must not be opened until the temperature has been checked by spraying with water. They should be opened slowly to avoid the danger of violent reignition caused by fresh air rushing in. The entry team must stay in contact with each other at all times. They may swap roles to even up the consumption of air among the group. An entry team always works to the lowest BA pressure reading of any of its members. A hose must never be left at the incident. The next team may need it to cool ladders on the way in. After exiting the incident, the on-scene commander holds a debriefing.
Found the casualty.
The first priority for all entry teams is their own safety. There is more information in the accompanying workbook.